into this on any kind of intellectual level. So the topic today, polyamory. And I've put in my description, more and more people are trying polyamory since the 1970s, popularized it as a lifestyle choice. But is it really freedom to love or just an excuse to hurt others without responsibility? And I tend toward the latter, understanding, and I don't think that it's got anything to do with being open-minded or the opposite, being conservative or being progressive or being traditional. Way back when I was like in my late teens, in a 5-year relationship that started out monogamous and ended polyamorous and then turned into a bit of a mess, really. And yes, there's the youthful aspect there, so I don't think that my personal experience is every, obviously not. But I do think that there are some myths around within polyamory. Things like you have to unlearn your patriarchal desire to own another human being. I think that's a load of shit, actually. I don't believe that monogamy comes from patriarchy. I think it actually comes from survival instinct, that we are an interdependent species, and because we rely so heavily on others for our survival, relationships, whether they be, parents, from best friends, romantic partners, anything like that, anyone who matters to us, that when their attention and their love is turned elsewhere, when their energy is given to another party, when it would normally be given to us, I think we experience this as, oh my God, my survival is now being threatened because of the survival instinct being interdependent. And this is why banishment was such a terrible, terrible thing back, in former times. To be banished from the community meant that you were cast out, that you had no one, looking after you, nobody caring about your welfare. You didn't have any means to protect yourself. You were just cast out to live or die on your own. And the likelihood of death was extremely high. And so if you look at people when they break up from a long-term partner of any type of partnership, any understanding of that partnership, they often have this terrible feeling of, oh my God, I am going to die. I can't handle this. And then we as a species feel embarrassed by this, like, oh God, I've got to hide that. This is ridiculous. Obviously, I'm not going to die. I've got a home, I've got a bed, I've got clothes, heating, cooling, food, water, friends, a job, got all of this stuff. Obviously, I'm not going to die. But the feeling is there. And I think that comes down to our survival instinct. Someone that was really close to us has now been removed from that position in our lives. We have been removed from that position in their lives. And so this becomes this enormous threat, like, I'm going to die. And so we have to work through that and rebuild and have our survival instinct feel satiated, that we are in fact safe. So this is my reasoning for believing that polyamory is not freedom, that we would in fact feel feelings of, my survival is threatened by this person turning their attention to someone else because they might fall in love with that person and leave me. And I think that's a natural feeling because we cannot survive on our own, because our species is interdependent. And then I wonder, let's look at this from a completely different angle. Somebody wants to be your boyfriend or girlfriend who is polyamorous, and you I ask myself, well, what are you offering? You're not offering exclusivity, which is usually the first step. It's like you go on your dates, you don't know, you're getting to know each other, and you become, boyfriends, girlfriends, whether that be same sex, opposite sex, because you offer exclusivity. So what happens when you're not offering exclusivity? What is the marker of this boyfriend, girlfriend? If that's not there, when does it shift from I'm getting to know you to this is something? And what is this something? Because like people have friends with benefits all the time without calling themselves boyfriend, girlfriend. So if it's just sex and friendship, then but it's not exclusive, what makes that boyfriend or girlfriend? And if the person has a primary, for those who aren't familiar with polyamory, there's a primary for some people, not for all. And the primary is the partner that they're building the life with. So they may be married, they may be de facto, they may own a house together or be in business together, they may have a shared bank account, they may have children, or a pets together. So the primary is the person they're going to build a life with. So what happens when they're offering being a boyfriend or a girlfriend to somebody else? Well, they're not offering being there through thick and thin, being there when the chips are down, or to share experiences or huge life events, to celebrate experiences, because if the primary needs them, they have to be there. So they're not offering emotional depth. They're not offering to be there for the good and the bad. They're not offering to be there exclusively. They're not offering to be there on any real level that matters. On Christmas Day, birthdays, Hanukkah, on any major celebration for that individual, where if they've got to choose to be here or there, they choose to be with the primary. So all of the big occasions, they're not going to be there. So how is that a boyfriend or a girlfriend? If there's an emotional support, say a parent dies, can you go to the person who considers you second to somebody else? Is that really going to be the emotional support that is going to see you through that? I don't think it is. I think it's going to be a superficial kind of pretense that they want to be there, but they're not really, because they're going to have a good time or a better time with somebody else right now. So what is the boyfriend-girlfriend experience when it's polyamorous and there's a primary? It's kind of nothing. The person's offering sex. And you can have sex without having any tie, without having any emotional involvement. Or you can choose not to have sex, and you can look for a person who is going to fulfill being there when you need them, allowing you to be there when they need someone, being there for all the major, all the good and the bad, the celebrations and the commiserations in life, and to possibly get married, possibly not, depending on what you believe around marriage, possibly buy a house together. All of these things are open possibilities that the second it becomes polyamorous become closed to you. So where is the freedom? So these are my thoughts on it at the moment. I probably actually have more thoughts than that, but right now I'm just sort of circling around this idea of, if this is freedom, what is that freedom? Because I can't see it. If this is, natural somehow, then where is that nature? Because when you look in history, and in different cultures, polyamory has always been a very ordered and structured way of being, either polygyny or polygamy specifically, and it's been for survival. there's been a reason behind it. Like polygamy is where there are multiple partners for one person, and polygyny is where there are multiple partners for one person. So, a man may have multiple wives, and that's because he's trying to make sure that his children survive, and it's usually in areas where there is massive poverty, and the likelihood of a child surviving is very low. And in places where the opposite occurs and a woman has multiple partners, it's usually men who are related to one another so that they can raise each other's children. And it's also when there is a high death rate amongst the adult men because there's a lot of danger. So it may be war, or it could be something that targets the men and adults that would cause death or illness, where they are incapable of parenting. So there's always a reason behind it, just like monogamy has a reason behind it in most of history that is about the survival of the species. Very little to do with love or partnership on the level of what do I want. But I think there is a want aspect because we want to survive. So, to some extent, maybe there's a natural in all of it somewhere, but it seems more likely that when you have plenty, there's no likelihood of death for you, your partner, or any potential children. When you're living in that kind of a society, monogamy is more of a wanted situation, because it's more of the survival situation. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. Please feel free to leave your thoughts, and of course, I understand that there will be people who feel very differently to the way I do, and that's fine. That's fine. Not everyone has to agree with me. Well, thank you very much for listening, and I hope I said something of interest. See ya.